Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. Once again on these stations, everything seems to be locked into a status quo here for at least the time being, with the APB at 5:30, KUAC also 5:30, 7:30 on 360 North, 5 a.m. the following morning on Alaska Public Media, and everything posted on YouTube by 8 p.m. each evening. For the satellite imagery, starting out with yesterday, we had front here stalled out along the coast, trying to push inland, but up against a big area of high pressure here that's holding it back to the west, and then a big storm coming into the southern Bering Sea, bringing storm force winds 60 knots or better into that area, with the front up across the Turbulence back down into the eastern Aleutians. Meanwhile, an upper level trough basically across the southeast coast, kicking off a few showers down over the southern areas, but nothing but sunshine here over the southern interior, right up to the Noatak Valley, with some clouds coming into the northeast interior. And checking out today, we had still quite a bit of cloudiness here over the southeast coast, starting to clear out to the north late this afternoon, but showers lingering into the afternoon here over the southern areas. And the front out here with the low pressure area, which is now pulled up to the northwest, merged with the original one that was stalled out. And so we have a general band of moisture and gusty winds from the Alaska Peninsula right up into the Bering Strait area. In fact, something of a wave here pulling northward this afternoon kind of kicked the winds up a little more. Generally 25 to 45 miles per hour with this front out in advance of the front there. Also some lower clouds, which brought a little bit of moisture to Kodiak yesterday. That's slipped northward here, and there were some light showers along the south coast of the Kenai Peninsula, southern Cook Inlet, and over toward the southern part of the western Alaska Range here. It looks like cloudiness up into the Kenai area this afternoon, otherwise clear over a good portion of the interior. Still variable cloudiness on the north slope there, and Arctic coast actually a little bit of moisture kicking off some very light precipitation of rain or snow around Barrow and Atasuk today, but pretty light, only 1/100 of an inch reported up there in the last 24 hours. On the chart here, you can see high pressure still over the northwest Gulf of Alaska, keeping winds quite light, Prince William Sound eastward there, and well, pretty light winds actually through all of the interior. And then the scattered shower condition edging its way up into southern Cook Inlet, and then the stronger front here, again that wave coming northward this afternoon across far western Bristol Bay, keeping it quite windy with rain on the heavy side here with this front gradually moving eastward, but anywhere from 1 to 3 inches has fallen in the last 24 hours along the Alaska Peninsula. Of course, with the heaviest amounts on the southern peninsula there, with King Cove picking up about 3 inches here until the front pushed eastward. Rain tapering off now, but in the last 24 hours they got 3 inches of rain, while Chignik had 2 3/4 inches of rain. Cold Bay had about 1 inch, and then up the coast, pretty heavy amounts there as well, with Platinum picking up around 1 inch in the last 24 hours. And then Macoriac, which, you know, on the lee side of the island there, they had about 1/2 inch of rain and 1/3 of an inch up across St. Lawrence Island. Winds 25, gusting 45 miles an hour ahead of the front, right up to the northwest there, with one of the stronger reports, Cape Newenham, recorded gusts a little over 60 miles per hour today, and that extending right into the afternoon. Less wind and very scattered on the showers back to the southwest here for the Fox Islands. Another trough keeping it kind of breezy with a few showers around the Pribilofs, and a little more in the way of shower activity back out to the west. Otherwise, for tonight, that front pushes eastward here a little bit, really begins to weaken, but stay strong enough for it to stay breezy and wet. Kodiak Island up into the western Alaska Range, Iliamna area, maybe the southern Kuskokwim Valley, but generally cloudy conditions on the increase here across south central Alaska and Cook Inlet throughout the evening hours. Stays fair over the interior with mostly clear skies and patchy fog along the eastern Arctic coast. That's going to allow those temperatures to drop back down into the teens in many locations here from the Copper River Basin right up into the interior. And showery conditions again out over the Aleutians. Not too bad on the winds out there, but a couple of troughs keeping enhanced areas of showers moving on by, along with some clearing periods. And it should, probably won't clear out completely here, but the showers should end over the panhandles. That upper trough pulls more off to the east-southeast. So not looking for really any more precipitation there. Still going on this afternoon at Annette, where they picked up 0.15 of an inch of rain this afternoon. And then on the chart here, you can see the outer edge of the next system, which tomorrow brings gale force winds and rain back into the western Aleutians, heading on in toward Adak. Otherwise, most of the showers now north of the Aleutians across the Bering Sea. So it looks pretty good here for the eastern Aleutians. Nice day coming up for the Alaska Peninsula and Bristol Bay, right up into Togiak Bay as well, with kind of a ridging going on here. So partly sunny skies, maybe mostly sunny with much lighter winds. And this front really going to pieces here as it pushes into that area of high pressure with the wind flow stretching it out off to the north-northwest. And then this portion really nowhere to go, but actually becoming stationary here with a warm front ahead of the next system down there coming into the picture. So look for rain chances greatest south of the Forelands over to the Alaska Range along the southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula. Whatever falls will be quite light, just areas of scattered showers or light rain here from the Alaska Range back up across the Seward Peninsula. Sunshine, Copper River Basin, actually North Gulf Coast, possibly right up across the North Slope. And should be a mostly sunny day, definitely dry though, with very light variable winds across the panhandle here. So with that quite light wind condition, you could see some lower clouds persisting, especially in the inner channel areas. Otherwise, not too bad. And then the outlook for Monday is this system down here slides northwestward. This one pushes northeast, and they all sort of combine into what becomes a pretty large and strong low pressure center with storm warnings out for a portion of the west central Aleutians, or I'm sorry, the east central Aleutians there. Good northwest winds though coming in behind that, and the front right along this position here, and you can see quite a tight gradient between that front and the high that's holding over the northern Gulf of Alaska. So quite strong winds, anywhere from 30 to as high as 50 knots will be blowing here across the peninsula right up along the southwest coast, with rain heavy at times again on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula. Some moisture working into Kodiak Island, but the increase in the winds will be a little more noticeable than the rainfall. And rain with the some old moisture here gets carried northwestward from the remnants of that front. So it looks pretty damp across Norton Sound, portions of the Seward Peninsula, right into possibly the Kobuk Valley. Eastern interior stays pretty good. Sunshine, light winds again, North Slope, fair, Arctic coast also. VFR, it looks like, with general offshore flow there. And VFR, sunshine for the North Gulf Coast. Another nice day shaping up for the Panhandle with light wind conditions. Moving on to the temperatures this afternoon down that way, mid-40s to mid-50s. 54 both at Craig and Klawock and Heidelberg. 52 degrees in the state capital today at Juneau, with 52 also at Sitka, 54 Yakutat. Upper 40s, Prince William Sound, South Central Alaska, actually mid to upper 40s through the Susitna Valley, with 48 at Kenai, 52 down at Homer, and sunshine, 55 degrees at McCarthy, with temperatures a little cooler up in the Tanana Valley than that, with lower to mid 40s there, 46 at Fairbanks, just 38 at Tanana, 38 also at McGrath, 34 Bettles, 30 degrees there at Fort Yukon, and in the mid to upper 20s for the North Slope and the Brooks Range. Out along the coast, temperatures look mostly in the lower 30s there, 28 at Point Lay, and then lower 40s here over the northwest, mid 40s for the Seward Peninsula, lower 50s down along the southwest coast and the Alaska Peninsula, upper 40s for the Aleutians. Low temperatures for tonight, just about all in the 30s there for the southeast coast areas. Some locations could drop into the upper 20s, like Yakutat, for example. Otherwise, upper 20s, lower 30s along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. Upper 40s, Bristol Bay. Teens, Copper River Basin, up to the Berks Range, and then back into the 20s to near 30 for the Arctic coast. 40s here in the southwest and the Aleutians. High temperatures tomorrow, mid to upper 50s here. Bristol Bay again, more sunshine there. Some locations could push the 60-degree mark. Mid 50s here for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta area. 30s, North Slope and Arctic coast. 40s through the Tanana Valley. Lower 40s here, the Copper River Basin. And not much change there for the Panhandle. Flying weather starting out tomorrow morning. Chunk of IFR up over the Arctic coast there, and a portion of the North Slope though, but that's staying north of the Berks Range. And marginal VFR again as that front just begins to die here along the southwest coast and actually pushes inland. So looking at some IFR over those southwest mountains, and marginal VFR working up the west side of Cook Inlet along the east side of the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range. Otherwise VFR most everywhere else, and all of the Aleutians in the VFR category. And then tomorrow afternoon, marginal VFR here, western Alaska Range, so Lake Clark and Merrill, probably picking up some marginal stuff early on, lasting the entire day. Really scattered now over the southwest interior. Possible IFR, central eastern Arctic coast once again, and then just marginal VFR coming into the picture out west. So passes, not a lot of changes, all still VFR again for many days now in a row. Except Lake Clark and Merrill, things are going to become marginal late tonight, early tomorrow morning, and probably persist that way throughout the day. But rainy should stay VFR, as well as windy. Isabel, Mentasta, Tanita, Portage, and Chilkoot and White. For the freezing levels, high pressure aloft holding across the interior tomorrow here, so 8 to possibly 10,000 feet over the north central interior of Alaska. Cooler back out to the west there with the frontal boundary, right through here. And not much of a gradient, is about 4,000 feet or so across all of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And the colder air just east of the southeast coast with icing threats, areas of light icing, light rime icing here, Kodiak Island, northwestward in this zone that's kind of edging eastward to the south and holding stationary to the north, right up across the Seward Peninsula. And then out west, of course, with the other system coming in, look for more rime icing there above about 8,000 feet. And checking out the jet stream for tomorrow, high pressure kind of centered right through here, but a strong ridge northward, still a block. You can see it's busted the jet stream here. This part curving back to the northwest, and then this area coming down right out of the north there, catching mostly across the Queen Charlotte's at about 70 knots. But this southerly jet at 120 knots holding along the western coast here through tomorrow. And then at 9,000 feet, southeast 35 knots, Kodiak Island through the southwest interior to Norton Sound, also from St. Lawrence Island southward toward the Pribilofs. And easterlies 15 to 25 along the Arctic coast, very light interior down across the Panhandle. Out west, those winds increasing with this next storm, 40 knots, 55 knots there just to the south. And then at 3,000 feet, about the same on those winds out there, 35 knots coming in, stronger winds just to the south there to move in tomorrow night and Monday. Southerlies 15 to 25, picking up to 35 and as high as 45 knots up across the Chukchi Sea. East-southeast 25 to 30, right along and offshore of the Arctic coast. Light winds over the central and southern interior. Southeast at about 30 for Kodiak, and light winds, Gulf of Alaska, variable Copper River Basin across the southeast coast. On to turbulence, none expected here over the eastern interior, down across the Panhandle. Light to isolated moderate chop though with those gusty winds here, the Yukon Delta coast through the Bering Straits, western portion of the Seward Peninsula, and also southeast winds here. Look for Fognak Island up to Iliamna, Kamishak Bay. Could be a little turbulent there. Much smoother though here for the Alaska Peninsula, and with an increase in the winds there over the western Aleutians, below about 5,000 feet of the moderate variety. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
We have cleaned over 1,500 miles of shoreline now.
Basically, it comes down to just human muscle. I mean, we use chainsaws and knives.
We find stuff from like Russia and China and Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia. It really doesn't matter where it comes from. We all just have to clean it out.
Our goal right now in the next 10 or 11 days before the end of this year is just to see how much we can collect before we get to remove it.
What you see on the beach is a fraction of what's out there. You can pretty much break it down into 3 or 4 things. Water bottles, a lot of water bottles, styrofoam, fishing nets, fishing buoys. And that's 99% of what you find on the beach. Basically just go along with chainsaws and muscle and get the garbage, put it in sacks, and then from there we haul it up above the log jam so it's out of any heavy surf or winter storms if it's going to stay there for the year, and put it in super sacks. So yeah, we just progressively work down the coast, just day in and day out.
We have like daily goals for ourselves that, like, if we're working at a pretty good rate, we'd like to keep on pace with about, like, I don't know, about 20 to 25 super sacks a day. So this is pile 102, and in this pile right now we have 2 super sacks and 1 set of buoys. June 23rd here, this is what we've done today. We're up to 25 super sacks on the day, and I think for now we'll call it and just keep cleaning until tomorrow.
My name is Hannah, and I represent a organization in Japan called Japan Environmental Action Network. With over 20 people working together to clean up the beach, this is amazing. Like, we all need to work together to, clean up the beach as much as possible. So like every single time I go back to Japan, I talk to the fishermen, and the fishermen's like, it's a joke, but they're like, if you find any buoy with my logo, you gotta bring it back, and like always looking out for that stuff.
The crew's awesome. I mean, we're all skiers or snowboarders, and we're all friends. I mean, we're all good friends. My dad started it. He's the man behind the desk. He makes the ball roll for sure. He works hard. He doesn't give up easy, which is good.
This stuff is uplifted quite a ways during the earthquake. Well, I think my bag's about full already. Yeah. I'm gonna take a quick look back in here. See what else is back here. The thing about marine debris is it's kind of a hidden problem. Unless you're out there, especially on these remote beaches that are so heavily impacted, people don't see it. I remember probably a good 20 years ago, I was out on the outside of Montague Island, flew out there, and I was just utterly astounded by all the garbage out there. You walk out there and you wade through this stuff and you go, this isn't right, this shouldn't happen.
I think a lot of it's just awareness. I mean, I've been boating out here for a long time, and I wasn't even aware of how extensive the marine debris problem is out here, but it's a consumer world out there for sure. I mean, I don't know where people's values are, I guess, but mine is you got to kind of have a little bit of respect for the environment, and considering we live in it, especially in Alaska. I mean, a lot of people like the outdoors and like to be part of the outdoors. That's why they live here, and it's they don't necessarily want to see it trashed.
Welcome back. Pretty light winds here for the Panhandle for the next couple of days. Northwest 10 along the coast. Mostly northerly component there through the inside waters, but on the light side 10 knots or less with slight seas. And not a lot of change for Monday. Light variable winds here across all the inside waters. Still north for Northern Canal, but not even a breeze there. North to northwest on the north coast. Northeast light winds on the south coast. 5 to 6 foot seas. And Prince William Sound on the North Gulf Coast, light variable winds. Tomorrow, variable to northeast at about 10 for northern Cook Inlet, picking up to 20 knots there south of the Forelands. Then you get in some gales here. Kamishak Bay, drop back to small crafts there for the Barren Islands, and also Kodiak Island, 25 to 30 knot winds. For Monday, northeast, about the same here, 10 to 20 knots through Cook Inlet. Easterlies now. 35 knots east side of Kodiak Island. Otherwise, high-end small craft advisories from the Barrens to Kamishak Bay and Shelikof Strait. East now 15 to 20 for the North Gulf Coast, staying light and variable under high pressure for Prince William Sound. Out a little farther west, Bristol Bay, on down the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, southeast at 15. Same thing on the south side, east 20 from Sitkinak to Castle Cape. Big increase on Monday with 30 knot winds here. Actually, they'll be stronger tomorrow night, and then coming down a little Monday afternoon under gale force with gales here north side of the peninsula into Bristol Bay, southeast 35, Sitkinak, Castle Cape. And the Fox Islands tomorrow, not too bad, south to southwest, 10 to 20 knots, 15 to 20 knots, turn into small craft advisories in the central Aleutians, and those become gales here west of Adak out to Shimmy and Attu. Actually, those drop down to 30 knots tomorrow afternoon. And then back into the gales, definitely here over the western Aleutians, west-northwest, 35 to 45 knots, seas up to 21 feet, and good gales here through the central Aleutians, strongest south of the islands, west 45, and a zone of 50 knot winds here approaching the Nikolsky area, where for Unalaska Island, you're looking at south to southeast at 40 knots. And for the southwest coast tomorrow, not too bad south of Nunivak Island, but from Nunivak Island to St. Lawrence Island, northern Bering Sea and the Pribilofs. We've got small craft advisories out for all those locations, 8 to 12 foot seas. And the outlook for Monday, easterly now in all areas, about 30 knots for the Pribilofs, 25, St. Matthew Island, same thing for St. Lawrence Island, and then gales here south of Nunivak Island, east at 40 knots. For the Arctic coast, easterlies 30 knots on the east side there, otherwise 25 knots out of the east, 8 foot seas here. dropping down about 6 feet in the west side, 30 knot southeast winds from Wales to Cape Beaufort. And then those come down pretty good for Monday, 15 to 20 knot winds here, still from basically the southeast. And easterlies now really dropping off 10 knots through the central coast, and then 15 to 20 on the east side. Looking at tonight again, showers end here in the south and clouds generally decrease. I don't think it'll become stark clear like that, but definitely becoming dry. Winds stay light, clouds increase here south central Alaska, possibly Prince William Sound. A little bit better chance of rain on the south coast of the Kenai Peninsula there and into the Iliamna area as well, possibly the Kuskokwim Valley, and rain back up to the northwest. Winds diminishing here along the coast and still kind of gusty Norton Sound and the Bering Strait. Showers and less wind out over the Aleutians. And for tomorrow, pretty good here over the eastern interior from the central interior down across the southeast coast. Weakening front, clouds and some areas of light showers of rain with it. On down into Cook Inlet south of the Forelands, Kodiak Island. Showers back out here to the west. And then the next storm coming in and developing, linking up with this system down here. And again, a good strong front along the Alaska Peninsula. Gale force southeasterlies. Some storms here with that low center over the central Bering Sea. And have a great evening, and we'll see you.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.